This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome to the Fan Report Show, made by fans, for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and joining me today is Andrew, who's going to give us this week's topics.
Well, trade deadline's come and gone, and the Pistons trade was so big that Woj had to break it live on air. We're just kidding, it wasn't that big. But we'll talk about it, and we'll try to handle some Pistons trivia, see how good we are, too. It's Fan Report.
All right, well, the trade deadline was certainly an active one. One that I would say was honestly pretty exciting, unless you're a Pistons fan, in all honesty. I mean, we did make one move.
We made one of the two moves that we were anticipating.
Not the move we expected. And I actually want to start there, Andrew. How do you feel, or what are your thoughts on Troy Weaver and the Pistons organization choosing to hold on to Wayne Ellington instead of trading him?
Well, on our last pod, I'd said that Wayne Ellington's the guy that I feel like you have to get rid of in this deadline for me to be happy. It's because of the fact that he's a guy you brought on a vet minimum contract as basically a roster filler, and he ended up playing well enough to where you can actually get some value for him. Now, I don't know what was happening in those calls, because there were many reports that were saying many teams were interested in Wayne Ellington. I would assume you were able to get at least a second-round pick for him. And assuming that at least one second-round pick was on the table, I don't see why you wouldn't pull the trigger. It makes the team worse right here, right now, which gives you a better chance at a top 3 pick or top 3 odds in the lottery. So, yeah, I can't sit here and say I'm not disappointed that we didn't trade Wayne Ellington. But, again, I'm not sure what the conversations were. But from what I've seen, it looks like Troy Weaver drives a hard bargain. He sets his prices high, and it's worked out for the most part. But what I'm suspecting is that he probably set the price at 2 seconds, like he did for DeLon, and no team was willing to go more than one, and ended up staying put. Not saying that's pure speculation on my part. I'm just trying to figure out why he didn't get traded. But yeah, I would have been ecstatic just to see him go for it 1 second. So, yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that he's still on the team.
I kind of am in the same boat. I have said that, in my opinion, you need to move both Ellington and one of two between Plumlee and DeLon Wright. I had a little bit higher expectations for this deadline than you did, and that primarily was hinged on the fact that I feel that this team needs draft capital, and a lot of it, especially draft capital in this draft in particular, because this draft's where the wild cards are. Where you can find steals late in this draft because there just isn't enough scouting and players really haven't gotten a chance to showcase themselves enough. So the fact that we only traded DeLon Wright, granted, we got a lot more for DeLon Wright than I thought we were going to. I did not anticipate 2 second-round picks for DeLon Wright at all. And
a contract swap that saves you $6 million.
Right,
so.
Exactly. So I was pretty shocked at that. But on top of that, if DeLon Wright was able to get you $6 million, saved money, plus 2 second-round picks, including one that was this year, how does Wayne Ellington not get you at least 1 second-round pick? Dude, he's right now one of the best three-point shooters in the league.
Yeah, I find it very hard to believe that you didn't have at least one team coming in and offering a second-round pick for Wayne Ellington. I find it very hard to believe that wasn't the case.
For a guy that you basically got for free on a vet min on a 1-year deal, so he's no good to you beyond this year. Really no good for you beyond the deadline in all reality, because he has no value anymore outside of potentially being a leader in the locker room for a guy like Saddiq Bey, but they don't play the same type of play. So it doesn't really make sense. Yeah. I don't see the value in keeping Wayne Ellington. I would have taken just about anything for him because he doesn't help you beyond this year. Unless you decide to bring him back as a piece for you next year and maybe you get something for him then, or when you start to win, he's still on the team. I doubt it though.
Yeah.
I highly doubt it. So his value was in this year was to begin with a roster filler, and then his value skyrocketed into a guy that you could have gotten draft capital for and you chose not to. Because I would be shocked if reports came out that there wasn't a trade on the table that included at least 1 second-round pick. And I would have taken that. Absolutely, yeah. I would have taken that. Especially if it was this year or next year.
I do kind of feel bad for DeLon, though, because I don't know if you remember from when we brought him in, he was saying that he spent the last 3 years of his career trying to get to Detroit. like ever since we hired Dwayne Casey, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Trade him in like
And then he
few
gets
months.
sent out of town.
But we do have a quote from Troy Weaver regarding why Wayne Ellington wasn't traded.
I actually was just about to bring that up, so I'm glad you did.
So this is from the Sony and Jansen show. He said, Wayne Ellington, his shooting professionalism and who he is, it was hard to part ways. We only thought about moving him on if it gave him a chance to go compete to win a championship, and nothing good enough came in front of us for that, so we decided to keep Wayne. So it sounds like they were trying, at least set on trading him a championship team for his sake, basically.
Right, and I understand that, and really the only teams that would be going after a guy like Wayne Ellington are your championship teams, let's be real.
Yeah.
Or teams looking to maybe decrease salary.
I could totally see the Lakers taking him on. Like
I can see a lot of
team
teams
that
taking
could
him
use
on.
some 3-point shooting.
I can see the Sixers taking him on. I can see the Lakers. I can see the Celtics. I can see the Heat. I can see a lot of teams taking on Wayne Ellington. Why? Because he's a really good 3-point shooter. And what team in 2021 doesn't want a really good 3-point shooter on their roster, especially as a spark plug off the bench?
Yeah.
If you're competing, that's the exact type of role player that you want. A guy who can hit threes.
We don't need it on our team.
Right, we don't, because he helps us compete. And I know that's what the team wanted, but that's not what I want right now. I want us to end up in the top 3 of the lottery, and Wayne Ellington's a guy who's going to have a random 25-point night come the end of April that's going to cause us to win a game, that's going to have us finish a game outside of the top 4.
Yeah, because that race is tight right now. Like
it is.
Houston's number 3 behind us. They're a game back. Minnesota is number 1, and they're a game ahead of us. So, like,
it's a tight race right now. Yeah. Like we you know, the wins are cute and all, but we need to kind of zero in on what we really want here in this city. Do we want to be successful in the future? I mean, you can't tell players not to score unless you're the Houston Rockets.
Houston Rockets.
Yeah, wow. But
22-0 run to close out the game.
That's impressive. That is impressive.
Like the other way, as in they didn't score, and they let Minnesota, the worst team in the league.
That's Philly taking out the quarterback that gives them the best chance to win and putting in. I don't even know, what was the guy's name they put in.
Oh, that's a great question. I'm blanking on it now.
But I obviously want this team to be enjoyable to watch and competitive. But like, I also want what's best for them, and finishing inside that bottom 3 in the league to give themselves a top pick or a chance at a top pick. Really is what's best, because right now they don't have the talent to. If you were to just stick with the roster as it is, they don't have the talent to compete in the future. They don't. Yeah. You know, they're missing that star player. And I know Jeremy Grant's looked real nice, but he also has a lot of really bad nights too. He put up 9 points last night, and he does that honestly fairly often.
He got hurt last night.
He did, but there's other games where he does put up small. He doesn't score a ton, and he's the guy that we really rely on. So we need another guy like that.
I'm glad you touched on that, though, not to pivot too far from what we're talking about currently, but I do at one point do want to get to Jeremy Grant, because I want to see, in your opinion, how you handle that situation. Because I think we should keep him out. We should milk it, to be honest with you. We should let him sit as long as we can reasonably let him sit.
I have heard reports that he is probable for tomorrow's game, for Monday's game.
Oh, really?
Yes, he is probable for Monday's game with the quad. But either way, like, obviously you and I are in the same boat. We would rather them lose some games right now. Mm-hmm. But tell that to the organization, tell that to the team. They don't want to lose games right now. They want to win as much as possible. Troy Weaver straight up said, Wayne Ellington's a guy that helps them compete. They want to compete. That was one of their goals this year. Do I want to see an entertaining product on the floor? Yes, but I also want to see a winning product on the floor and a championship contending product on the floor. And with the roster constructed the way it is, it's not going to happen that way. So I feel the best way for this organization to do that is to allocate draft picks and high ones at that, and the only way to do that is to lose some games. So some of these games that we shouldn't be winning but are, maybe we don't win those games, and I'd rather that.
Now, speaking of draft picks, the Pistons now have 3 second-round picks in this year's draft. Troy Weaver has said how much he values second-round picks in terms of the flexibility that those picks themselves offer, because you can sign players on 2-way contracts with those second round draft picks.
Which that's what Frank Jackson's on.
That's what.
Granted, he wasn't a draft pick, but he is on a second 2-way contract.
So my question to you is, though, I'm sitting here debating that, like, when you have 3 second round picks, I wonder, is there more value in taking 3 guys that you can have on 2-way contracts, or is there more value, especially in a year like this year, where you can maybe package all three and try to move up into the late first round.
I think this is the one special year where you can argue both are true. In most other years, I'd say those 3 second-round picks better be packaged to move back up into the first round, maybe into the early to mid-20s or even late 20s to try to get as much talent out of a player as you can there in that spot. This year in particular, though, I do think both are true because you can find guys that are probably actually top 10 talent or lottery talent in the late 20s here and use those 3 draft picks to go get them. But on the flip side, more stabs at guys in the second round in a draft like this where there isn't a lot of scouting going on and there are hidden talents out there. That's also what you want. So it's
and I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid on Troy Weaver's talent spotting abilities. So
I mean, I am too. Sadiq Bey's looked quite nice. Granted, all 3 of the guys that I really like are first round picks. Saban Lee has shown a couple stretches here, but
it's odd. Like he hasn't played outside of the last game, which was the Wizards game. He hadn't been playing much at all. Like he got buried behind Frank Jackson for some reason.
I mean, Frank Jackson was kind of showing a lot too. He had an incredible game, I believe, sometime last week. But he also was kind of shown an ability as well. And Saban Lee has made some rookie mistakes here and there. And, you know, he is a guy that every now and then you do kind of got to sit him down and let him learn and teach him and learn and say, hey, you know, you still got to earn this. And this is what you're doing wrong. I like what you're doing here, but, you know, maybe we can tweak it a little bit and this is how you do it. So sometimes you got to sit a rookie down and not let him hit that rookie wall, so to speak, and get into these bad habits. And the best way to do that is to sit him down and teach him, coach him. And I think Dwayne Casey, and honestly, my opinion, Dwayne Casey is one of the best coaches in the league at doing that because he's turned some young players into some and not well-known young players into some really fine talents in this league between Siakam, OG Anunoby, as well as Fred VanVleet. He's turned out some great talent with those guys, and none of them were really all that highly touted a prospect. So I think we got the right guy making the moves here. And with a guy like Saban Lee, I think that's a good move for him. Gives him some time to learn and watch and be coached.
Now, taking the trade deadline on as a whole, do you want to give it a grade?
It's tough to grade it because
an early grade, not knowing what those second round picks ended up being.
It's tough to grade because the DeLon Wright trade, I straight up give an A+. Like that was an awesome trade. Like that,
But I struggle on the grade because of also what could have been.
Exactly. Like you didn't trade Plumlee, you didn't trade Ellington, and you didn't trade Jeremy Grant. You only traded DeLon Wright. There was a lack of activity there, which really kind of puts me off. But the activity you did have was awesome. Like it blew my expectations for DeLon Wright. But you also didn't meet expectations in other ways. So I guess I'll give it a B-.
That's exact. I was between a B- and a C+ because I'm like, I don't know how far down I can grade it after not having anything bad to say about the DeLon Wright trade just because I feel like he missed on major opportunities with a guy like Wayne Ellington, for example.
Exactly. And again, he did give some reasons why he didn't trade Wayne Ellington in the sense that just the right offer didn't come to our table and we figured we would rather have him be here to compete and mentor some of the young guys and stuff. But I still think the only value Wayne Ellington has to this basketball team for the future is through a trade.
But do you think that reasoning is really valid, though? We wanted to give him a chance to compete and win a championship, and we didn't want to trade him. As a GM, can you have that kind of loyalty to a player who's not your star player?
Not only not your star player, but you're not a competing team. So no, you can't. I think that was
you can't say I only want to trade him to a team that's going to help him win a championship.
Right.
I don't want to trade him anywhere else.
I'll be honest with you. I think there were plenty of championship teams out there that were coming and calling because those are really the only teams that are buying.
Exactly. So those are the teams that are expecting to come in with the offers.
Unless he's trying to say that there were no offers on the table, which I highly doubt. I highly doubt. I don't really buy it that much. So no.
Well, Wayne Ellington is on the team for the rest of the season, and we do have 3 seconds this year, so it's not like we have any short seconds anymore. But
but 4 or 5 would look a lot nicer, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
because you could package 3 of those and still have a second and get another first round pick.
Now
that'd be nice.
Little bit of prediction here. This is a way too early prediction too. Am I crazy for thinking that Troy Weaver is going to move someone like Mason Plumlee or Jeremy Grant on draft day?
No, I don't think you're crazy to think that at all. I actually think that's almost likely. A guy like Mason Plumlee, who has another year on his deal, Jeremy Grant, maybe not so much, but Mason Plumlee, I think, definitely is a possibility, especially knowing what you have in Isaiah Stewart behind him.
Mm-hmm. I just wonder how high of a pick you can get moving a guy like Mason Plumlee.
You probably can't get anything that huge, but I mean, maybe you package it. Maybe he wants to jump back into the first round after their early pick, and he wants to get into those late 20s, but he doesn't want to give up all three of the second round picks.
Basically, what he did in 2020, in the 2020 draft.
So he trades Mason Plumlee and one or two of his second round picks and moves up into the top, somewhere in that early 20s pit range and grabs another pick. I mean, I wouldn't hate that idea at all.
Also,
I know you're a betting man.
Oh, yes.
As both of us are.
Yes.
What do you think? What would you place the odds at of Wayne Ellington returning with the Pistons next year?
Returning with the Pistons?
Yes, next year.
I'd give plus 1,000 odds.
Plus 1,000, even though this is already his second stint with the team.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, it's a 1-year deal, and I don't see any reason for Troy Weaver to bring him back. Like, it's a guy who helps him compete, which is his goal. He wants to give him a chance to compete, not help himself compete.
No, he also said he wants the reason they wanted one of his quotes, and I was trying to find it, was he wants one of the reasons he kept him was he's a guy who helps us compete, which was our goal this year. So he helps the Pistons compete, and Troy Weaver admits to that, and that was one of their goals this year was to compete. So I would actually argue that Troy Weaver would extend the offer to Wayne Ellington to return. It would be him that would turn it down and try to go somewhere else and win. Interesting.
Well, bring him in on another vet min?
Maybe even a little more.
Would you want him to come back?
I mean, in all reality, he's kind of destroyed our draft opportunities here. So by that sense, no. But I love Wayne Ellington as a player.
I wish we could I wish you could freeze him and then thaw him out 4 years from now.
Absolutely. Love that idea.
Because he'd be perfect coming off the bench for an actual competing team.
Absolutely.
Okay, real quick. I do want to touch on March Madness for a second. One of the guys that anyone in the top three, outside of the number one pick, anyone like the Pistons, the Rockets, the Magic, is on everyone's draft board is Jaylen Suggs. Suggs has not been having a great March Madness.
No, he sucked.
However, it's not like he's had to. His team has picked up most of the slack. They've been dominating, and he hasn't really needed to do much.
I mean, it's Gonzaga.
Yeah, exactly. Has he fallen on your draft board at all? Is he now 3 to Evan Mobley's 2? Where are you at with Jaylen Suggs?
Honestly, he might be 3 to Evan Mobley's 2. And the only reason I would say he's not is because I think the Jaylen Suggs player is more of what I want for the Pistons than an Evan Mobley. But in terms of what he's done on the big show in the limelight, granted, there really isn't the limelight there because only close friends and family are at these games to begin with, but he has fallen off.
Millions upon millions.
It's still
of people
a big
watching.
stage. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's still a big stage, far bigger than a Gonzaga home game or something. But he has kind of fallen a little bit because we haven't seen him really step into the limelight and be that difference maker on the floor that we have come to expect out of him. And what we would need him to be for the Pistons, and is that difference maker, that leader, that superstar, so to speak. And he hasn't really shown that in this tournament, and so that does kind of make him fall off a little bit because that's exactly what we would be drafting him to be. And if he's not showing it now, maybe he's not capable of doing that. Maybe he's a number 2 type guy on a championship contending team, and we need a number 1 right now.
Yeah, and I wasn't all season. I was saying the exact opposite. It's Jaylen Suggs has superstar written all over him. And I'm not to the point where I'm completely
I'm not either
reassessing what I thought about Jaylen Suggs, but it's planted a little seed of doubt. Wait, why is he not stepping up in the big moments right now?
Right.
Where is he?
I mean, a lot of Gonzaga's games haven't really been all that close, so he hasn't really needed to take control, so to speak. But versus a guy like Evan Mobley, he has stepped up in a lot of ways and been the difference maker for his team, along with the other Mobley on that roster. But
draft them both.
I mean, Mobley sure looked real nice in this tournament and really kind of helped his draft stock, if anything, and Suggs has done quite the opposite. But again, I still believe in Jaylen Suggs. I still think he's the type of player I want for the Pistons, and I think he does have superstar written all over him. But without a doubt, this tournament has put a little bit of doubt in my brain on whether or not he can turn into that superstar and be that number one guy, that difference maker, that superstar that can take control of a game and win it when he needs to.
All right, let's move on to some Pistons trivia. Unless you have anything else to add.
I guess, well, were you a little bit disappointed the Pistons weren't going after any of the young names out there, like an Aaron Gordon?
Not really.
Like, because the Nuggets got Aaron Gordon, they sure look pretty damn good now. I mean, it's going to be a little bit interesting to watch Aaron Gordon with Michael Porter Jr., because I actually really liked what Michael Porter Jr. has done over there. Mm-hmm. So to see them together, I'm kind of confused a little bit on the fit, because now you have two similar type players with Michael Porter Jr. Granted, I think Porter shoots a little bit better than Aaron Gordon does, but two similar type of players there to go alongside Jokic, and I'm curious to see if they'll play alongside each other, how that'll work, or what. But it was a very active trade deadline, no question. What was the trade that made you just kind of jump out of your seat and go, whoa?
Probably Vooch to the Bulls.
The Bulls were very active, and it was very interesting to see because I was not expecting it. Yes, it was. They straight up sold out. Sold out to try to compete over the next few years, including going after a 31-year-old center in Vucevic. Yeah. Traded all their young talent.
And what's interesting to me is and Zach LaVine. They kept Zach LaVine and Laurie.
Well, yes.
Yeah. But what's interesting to me is the immediate bottoming out that the Magic just did. So now I feel like the Magic are going to be right on our tails too.
That was quite literally the best trade deadline tank job I've ever seen. Yeah. Let's just devoid our roster of talent. You can't say our players aren't competing if we don't even have any talent to begin with. And you can't get mad at us about it because guess what? They literally just devoided their roster of any talent. Like Chuma Okeke the other night was I'm pretty sure was their leading scorer. But the Bulls are really going after it. I mean, obviously they have Kobe White, who is still young, but Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Thaddeus Young, Pat Williams, Nikola Vucevic. I mean,
it's a nice roster.
It actually is, and outside of Vucevic, it's fairly young still. I mean, Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Kobe White, they're all young, very young. So this is a team that's built to be able to compete for a couple of years. I don't really hate what they did. It was a little confusing, but I don't hate it. It was aggressive, for sure.
I know they traded Wendell Carter, which that's tough because I do like him. But did they get rid of Chandler Hutchinson also? I can't remember.
I believe he's still on the team.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still with... No. They did trade him. Just kidding. He's on the Wizards now.
They traded him for Mo Wagner and Troy Brown.
That's right. But they also flipped Mo Wagner to, I believe, the Celtics, didn't they? Because they flipped Mo Wagner to they flipped Mo Wagner to the Celtics as part of a 3-team deal.
Oh, okay.
But I personally liked Wendell Carter also, but a lot of people didn't. A lot of people say that he's basically a bum, but I like Wendell Carter. I would have loved to see him here in Detroit. I mean, he's I don't know, he's an exciting player to watch. He's a young talent.
Would you rather have Wendell Carter or what's his face, Marvin Bagley?
Marvin Bagley.
Yeah,
Marvin Bagley, I think, is the better talent out of the two. More exciting, better scorer. Pretty much, I think Marvin Bagley does everything that Wendell Carter does, except he also scores and does it a little bit better. Wendell Carter
Wendell Carter's a better three-point shooter, though, right?
I don't actually think so. I thought Wendell Carter really took a step back in his three-point shooting. Let me see here. I'll pull it up here.
Wendell's shooting 36.4% this season from three. I don't know where he's shooting for his career, though.
Did you say Wendell or Marvin Bagley?
Wendell Carter's shooting 36.4.
And Marvin Bagley's 35.4.
They're right around the same.
Yeah, so what are the attempts, though? Because Marvin Bagley averages over 2.5 this year. Wendell Carter averages less than 1. So Marvin Bagley's actually better a three-point shooter than Wendell Carter. That. So, I mean, again, I'd probably want Marvin Bagley.
Also, this is by far Wendell Carter's best three-point shooting season. His last two seasons were 20% and 19%.
Yes. Marvin Bagley, I think, has been pretty consistent with his...
He's shooting 32% on his career.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he's pretty consistent. He's stayed over... Well, okay, last year he was terrible. Last year he shot 18%.
Yeah, but still 32 for the career.
Yeah, because he shot pretty well in his first year. Well, 31. So, but this year he's only played a big step up.
Only played what, like 10 games last year?
He did only play 13 games last year. You're right. 13? So there you go. But I don't know. I feel like Marvin Bagley is a guy that is able to score a lot more than Wendell Carter. He provides pretty much everything on the floor you'd ask him to. I think Wendell Carter is a little bit more annoying defensively than Marvin Bagley because of that length. I mean, dude's got a 7'5" wingspan, but other than that, I like what Marvin Bagley brings to the table. That does not mean I would like the Sadiq Bey for Marvin Bagley trade, which did we talk about that last week?
We did.
Okay,
Yeah, we did
I just want to make sure. It does not mean that, because I still would rather Sadiq Bey, but still. Did you see the game Russell Westbrook put up yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
19, 19, and 10?
Mm-hmm.
Name another 6'3" guard that puts up 19 and 19. And that's not assists. That's rebounds.
Oh, what was the guy's name? There was a guy on the, I think it was Portland. I had never heard of him until last night, but he had 19 boards at the half. Yeah, I don't know what he finished with. I got to find out now.
No, now you got me curious. It was yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday.
They didn't play yesterday.
Then it was on some other team. Or it could have been 2 days ago. I'll find it. Let's kick the trivia off, and then I'll interrupt you when I find it.
Let's do it. All right, trivia. Where did it go? Did I close it out? Oopsie. I think I did. All right. Oh, no, I didn't. It's right here. All right, let me share my screen to you so that you can see it and follow along with me. And
hell yeah.
Nice thing about this is we get a little bit of sound effects with it. All right, you can see it now, yes?
Yes.
All right, let's do this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through a little bit of Pistons trivia, and this is just historical Pistons trivia. I don't think there's anything too current, no?
I actually have not read through the questions, so I couldn't tell you.
All right, I haven't either, so we're going to do this together.
And for those who know, we don't have the answers up on the screen. It's multiple choice, and we don't know the answer until we click on it.
Right. Let's get started. And this is courtesy of Useful Trivia. I've never heard of Useful Trivia. Don't we always do? Didn't we always used to do, like, was it Sporkle?
We used to do Sporkle a lot on the live show.
Yeah, okay.
It was Moses Brown of Thunder, and he finished with 23 boards.
But he had 19 at the half?
But he had 19 at the half.
Well, that's just a disappointing line. You got to get at least 30.
He finished with 21 and 23.
You got to get at least 30 boards if you got 19 at the half, man. Come on. I mean, at the very worst, 25. Because 11 boards and a half is still a ton. But 6, that's doable. All right. First question. Where were the Detroit Pistons originally located? This one is easy. It's Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
All right. The other options were Grand Rapids, Madison, Wisconsin, Lexington, Kentucky. It's obviously Fort Wayne.
Unless it's some kind of trick question, it's Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Ding, ding, ding. It is Fort Wayne. Franchise founded as the Fort Wayne Zollner Pistons.
Oh.
Named after Fred Zollner and the Zollner Corporation. But number 2, what is the most points the Pistons ever scored in a game?
I don't even need to look for the multiple choice. 186.
Wasn't that against
Denver Nuggets?
Denver Nuggets, that's
186 to 182, I believe, was the final score.
You know, there's one game that just sticks in my memory. I believe it was against the Celtics, where the Pistons put up like 130, and the Celtics put up like 68.
What year was this?
It was during the going to work crew team. It was that team that was just a dominant.
That holding the Celtics to 68 sounds like that team. Putting up 130 does not sound like that team.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, every now and then, they had their days.
Every now and then.
I'll see if I can find it. I got to go through these questions, though. But number 3, which Pistons players featured in a Super Nintendo game called Combat Basketball?
Never heard of it.
Neither have I. It
Give
sounds
choices.
Awesome, though. Choices are Mark Aguirre, Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer.
Well, if we're talking about combat, I almost want to go Bill Laimbeer, maybe Rodman.
I was going to say either Rodman or Laimbeer. Obviously, the big star here is Isaiah Thomas. Mark Aguirre is kind of a wild card, though. Why would Mark Aguirre be the guy they throw in here?
Would it be cheating if we looked up what combat basketball was?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I'd say that is cheating.
I'm going to assume it's some kind of basketball game that's like NFL Blitz, but for basketball. Which, yeah, that tells me it's going to be Rodman or Laimbeer.
I'm going to say Rodman. Rodman's where I'm leaning.
But he wasn't as big then.
We're wrong. We are wrong.
Because Rodman wasn't as big when he was on the Pistons.
It is not Rodman.
It's got to be Laimbeer.
Laimbeer? Yep, it is Laimbeer. Yeah. We got the. So it took us a try, but we did get it. Game was from. Oh, fun fact. It is called Bill Laimbeer's Combat Basketball.
Oh, way to leave out like a crucial part of the title question.
It was a futuristic video game that took place in the year 2031, so 10 years from now. Bill Laimbeer, who played for the Detroit Pistons at a time when the team was notorious for aggressive and physical play. I just find it amazing that Bill Laimbeer had a game named after him. Has become commissioner of a basketball league. Fired the referees and created a style of play without rules. There are no fouls, and use of weapons is perfectly legal.
Wait, can we get a remake of this game, please?
I may just have to go buy a Super Nintendo to get this game.
I have one.
You don't have a Super Nintendo, do you?
Oh, yes, I do. It's in my basement.
I'm gonna look up where we can find this game.
All right.
And
I'm gonna let's start a.
I thought you had a Nintendo 64 in your basement
and a Super Nintendo.
All right, does it work?
Start a petition. I gotta try it out. I actually was planning on trying it out this weekend, but I didn't get around to it.
I didn't get around to a lot of things I wanted to do this weekend. Number 4, which Pitson was the first recipient of the NBA Sportsmanship Award? Your options are Dennis Rodman, Grant Hill, Allen Houston, and Joe Dumars. Dennis Rodman, I will not put on. I will not pick.
I think it was Joe D.
I feel like I want to lean Allen Houston.
He was on the team for what, a year, 2 years?
I still feel like I want to do it. But all right, we'll start with Joe D. You're right. It was Joe D.
Joe D.
Next, although he was a member of the famed Bad Boys teams known for their aggressive play and demeanor, Joe Dumars became personally known for his quiet and upstanding behavior. He was the first recipient of the NBA Sportsmanship Award, which has been named the Joe Dumars Trophy.
Is that still around, by the way?
I actually don't know. I really don't know. NBA Sportsmanship Award. Let's see. Who was the most recent winner? It is still around. Vince Carter won it last year.
Okay.
All right. The more you know.
The more you know.
Who did the Pistons defeat to win their first NBA championship?
Easy.
Lakers, Rockets, Spurs, Blazers.
Lakers.
At least they didn't put an Eastern Conference team in this.
Yeah.
It was the Lakers' 1989 NBA Finals rematch of the previous year's championship round between the Eastern Conference playoff champion Detroit Pistons, the defending NBA champion and Western Conference playoff champion Los Angeles Lakers, and the Phantom Foul. The Lakers swept the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, only to be swept by the Pistons in the finals. Still should have been a three-peat.
Definitely. That Phantom Foul, every time I see it, even though I wasn't even alive for it, it still like pains me to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Who is the tallest player in Pistons history?
Here's the choices.
All right, choices are Boban Marjanovic, a show favorite, William Bedford, never heard of him, Chuck Nevitt,
okay,
and Primoz Brzic.
I'm going to go Boban because he's the only one I know for sure has played on the Pistons.
I would imagine all of them have been on the Pistons.
Yeah, I just don't recall their tenures with the Pistons.
All right, we're going to guess Boban. No, that is not correct. I'm going to go with Primoz Brzic.
Yeah, that would have been my number 2.
No, that is also incorrect. Chuck Nevitt or William Bedford, 50-50. Let's go.
Let's go Nevitt.
Yes, we did it.
Who is Chuck Nevitt?
7'5". Chuck Nevitt is one of the tallest players in NBA history. He spent 3 years in Detroit and had his best season in 1986 to 1987 when he averaged a big fat 1.9 points, 2 rebounds, and 0.7 blocks per game. My question is...
That explains why I don't know him.
How does a dude that is 7'5" in the 80s only average 2 boards and 0.7 blocks a game?
Low effort.
I hope he played less than 3 minutes a game.
Bad at basketball. He only made the NBA because he's 7'5".
You know, there was a time where that was a thing. Next question. Who is the Detroit Pistons career leader in points, assists, and steals?
Ooh.
We got Dave Bing, Bob Lanier, Isaiah Thomas, and Joe Dumars. I think it's Isaiah.
I don't think he only played, 8 seasons with the Pistons?
Oh, that's true. Maybe it's Joe D. He played a while.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of someone that played a while. And
maybe
Bob Lanier wasn't a big assist guy.
It's either Dave Bing or Joe Dumars. It's either Dave Bing or Joe Dumars.
Let's go with Joe D.
It's not Joe D. It's definitely Dave Bing then. No, it's not. It's Bob Lanier, Isaiah. Are we thinking too much? Is it Isaiah?
We might be thinking too much.
It is Isaiah. All right, there we go. 12-time NBA All-Star point guard Isaiah Thomas was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in the first year of his eligibility. He holds a whole slew of Piston records, including points, assists, and steals.
Does that still stand? Because I don't know when this was.
I don't know who else would have beaten him.
Maybe Chauncey?
Doubt it.
Depending on when this was made.
Chauncey didn't really average that many assists. He averaged, 6, 7 assists a game? And Chauncey wasn't here for 12 years, was he?
Chauncey was here for,
like
you're right. He was only here for like 6 years.
6 or 7 years, yeah. Next question. Which Detroit Pistons coach is the highest winning percentage? Flip Saunders, Chuck Daly, Rick Carlisle, or Larry Brown? I'm between Flip and Rick Carlisle. Maybe Chuck Daly, too.
Highest winning percentage?
Yeah.
Okay, it's got to be. It's got to be Flip.
I think it's Flip, because he had the record season for them, right?
And yeah, he's one. And I always get Flip and Rick Carlisle's tenures mixed up. Flip took over for Larry Brown when Larry Brown retired, right?
Yes, Rick Carlisle was before they brought in Larry Brown to get him over the top.
Exactly.
And Rick Carlisle went to 3 straight Eastern Conference Finals and couldn't win it.
I don't think Flip Saunders ever had a season below 60 wins with the Pistons, unless I'm misremembering this.
Never should have fired him. I'm going to go with Flip, yes?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep, Flip Saunders is the franchise all-time leader in regular season winning percentage. Take a guess on what it is.
Well, I'm going to say his average was 60 and 22. So, hold on. Let me pull out my calculator real quick. 60 divided by... So, let's say... I'm just going to go with that. 73%.
You're close. It's 71.5%. He led the Pistons to 3 consecutive Central Division titles and 3 consecutive appearances in the Eastern Conference Finals, but was fired after the Pistons lost to the Boston Celtics in 2008 Eastern Conference Finals, which that team went on to win the title, I believe. For the 3rd straight time, Detroit president, basketball of operations Joe Dumars said the team needed a new voice, which the team basically pulled the coup, which was one of the biggest disappointments in franchise history.
This is where Joe D started losing the plot a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. They never should have fired that guy. He was a good coach, man. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Okay. This one's kind of stupid and easy, but what is the Detroit Pistons mascot? A cat, a dog, a bird, a horse?
A cat dog.
Obviously, it's a horse. His name is Hooper. What are your thoughts on Mini Hooper?
I'm sorry, what?
What are your thoughts on Mini Hooper?
Who the hell's Mini Hooper?
The Mini Meat Hooper mascot. The Mini Hooper.
I didn't know that was like a separate thing.
Yes, you do. We've been at games with Mini Hooper.
No, I know. I didn't know that was like... I thought that was just I thought it was just Hooper, just a smaller person in the mascot outfit.
No, it's Mini Hooper. They do things together. There's Hooper and Mini Hooper.
And then I guess I don't have an issue with it because I never had an issue with it before.
I can't stand it. I wish they'd get rid of it. Next question. Who was the first Piston to win the Sixth Man of the Year award? Vinnie Johnson, Corliss Williamson, Allen Houston, Ben Gordon. It's obviously Vinnie Johnson.
Did he ever win it?
I thought he did.
Corliss, I know for sure won it.
Corliss won it like 3 times, didn't he?
I don't know about that. I just know he won it with the Pistons. And I know Ben Gordon didn't win it. I know Allen Houston didn't win it. Vinnie, hey, I hear you typing back there. No looking things up.
I'm not.
See, I don't know if Vinnie, I'm going to go Corliss. I'm going to go Corliss because Corliss is the only one that I know for sure won Sixth Man of the Year award. But
fair.
If you want to go Vinnie, you can go Vinnie.
So Corliss only won it once. Just saying. So you were right on that. Well, I'll go with Corliss. I'll concede here and I'll go with Corliss. Correct. It was Corliss. Nicknamed Big Nasty. Served pivotal role coming off the bench with the Pistons at 102, averaging 13.6 points per game and earning the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award. He was the one guy on any team where if he came in, I had zero problems. Oh no, we're taking so-and-so out. Oh, I was like, oh hell yeah, Corliss is in.
So Vinnie never won Mike Ray never won a Sixth Man of the Year?
At least not with the Pistons. I can see if he won it with anybody else, but it doesn't show that he won any with the Pistons.
Robbed.
Absolutely. He was one of the greatest six men in the history of basketball. No. Okay. Never won one. Robbed. All right, going over to the second page of these. Which player was named NBA Finals MVP in 2004? You and I both know this.
Easy.
Chauncey.
Billups.
What did he average in that? Just out of curiosity. 21 points, 5.2 assists, 3.2 boards, and 1.2 steals. Shooting 50.1%, 47.13% from 3. Jesus. And 92.9 from the line. Oh, I miss him. All right, next question. Who was the first Piston with more than 250 blocks in a season? Terry Tyler, Andre Drummond, Bob Lanier, or Ben Wallace?
I feel like Ben Wallace is the obvious answer here, but it's almost too easy.
I don't know. Some of these have kind of been easy.
Let's go Ben. I don't want to overthink ourselves.
You don't think Bob Lanier got 250 blocks? Because that's the only guy I could think of that, like Terry Tyler, I definitely don't think so. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know. Do you know who Terry Tyler is? Me neither. Right, we're going
I have a hard time believing Drummond did it and Ben didn't do it. So
right, that's what I mean. Like it definitely isn't Drummond. I can get him out of there, right?
Yeah.
Ben.
I'm going to go Ben, but...
It is Ben.
Right.
0102 center Ben Wallace led the league in rebounding with 1,039. That's not what this question's about. And shot blocking with 278. A strong defense player and Defense Player of the Year award.
Question, is Ben Wallace a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Agreed.
And I'm a little bit of a stickler for the Hall of Fame. I believe he is the only Hall of Famer from that team.
I'll agree.
Anytime you win several Defensive Player of the Year awards, you deserve to be in my mind. So,
yep.
Who holds the franchise single season record for points? Dave Bing, Jerry Stackhouse, Isaiah Thomas, or Grant Hill? I think it's
Stack was a volume scorer. I could see it being Stack.
I
could really see it being any of these guys.
See, part of me leans Dave Bing, and the reason is like there was at least someone on a lot of these teams. If you were any good, like you had to score like 35, 40 points a game if you were actually good. You know what I mean? Like look at Wilt's numbers.
Yeah. Oh no, I know it's that era.
Yeah.
That'd be the logical thing. I don't know why the one that stuck out to me was Jerry Stackhouse.
Stack sticks out. Not Dave Bing.
Want to try Stack?
It is Stackhouse. 2001. Stackhouse led the NBA in total points, scored with a franchise record 2,380 points. He led the NBA?
Yeah, dude, he was a big
I know he
scorer.
was a crazy scorer, but
I never knew he led the NBA, but I knew he was one of the highest scorers in the league.
I knew that too, but NBA?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he was all that team had. Oh, didn't the 01 team have Grant Hill on it?
No, he was gone. But no, wait, yeah. Sorry,
it did. It was when they had. It was the year that they had both Stack and
That
Hill.
that was basically the year that I actually started watching the Pistons, like actually watching them.
I think my first year really watching the Pistons was 2000.
First Pistons game was 98, but
yeah,
the first team I remember like actually watching was the Teal team with Jerry Stackhouse, Grant Hill, Joe D.
That's like saying I've been watching the Tigers since like 97 because I went to a Tigers game in 97.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like 4 years old. I've been to a game at Tiger Stadium, though. Which Piston played for Detroit his entire career? Lambeer, Isaiah, Chauncey, or Big Ben?
Zeke.
Obviously not Chauncey and Ben. It is Zeke.
Bill played for the Cleveland Cavaliers at one point.
Yes, he did. Point guard Isaiah Thomas taken as the second overall pick by the Pistons, 81. Played for them his entire career, leading them to titles in 88, 89, 89, 90. Which player won NBA championships in the AAU? Which player won championships in the AAU, NCAA, and NBA? Grant Hill, Jerry Stackhouse, Mark Aguirre, or Corliss?
We know Corliss and Aguirre won NBA championships. Did Grant Hill or Stackhouse ever win the NBA? For any team?
I don't think so, because
didn't
didn't Grant Hill go to the Magic after us, and they never won?
He went to a bunch of teams. He went to Magic, Phoenix.
They never won.
Stackhouse went to Dallas, I know.
They did.
Was he on that team? I don't think so.
I'm
not sure.
He might have been. What was that?
I wish I knew college basketball better because I'd be able to say, all right, Mark Aguirre, Corliss, so we know one NBA. Which one was one in college? I couldn't even tell what colleges they went to. So
I think it's Corliss.
I know Aguirre was the number one overall pick, so it's certainly possible he won in college.
Possible. I think it's Corliss because we have no idea who won in the AAU. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's it.
I think it's Corliss. I'm going to lean Corliss.
All right. I'll just be the yin to the yang, and I'll go Mark Aguirre. But let's go Corliss.
It's Corliss Williamson, Big Nasty. Has the distinction of being one of the few professional basketball players to win championships at 3 different levels, AAU, NCAA, with Arkansas, and the NBA with Detroit. Which player is the highest single-season free throw percentage in franchise history? Jody Meeks, Joe Dumars, Chauncey Billups, or Bill Lambeer?
Jody Meeks.
I was going to say it's Jody Meeks, isn't it?
It's a really random name to have on here.
I thought it was Jody Meeks, though. I thought he had 92.
My gut wants to say Chauncey.
I thought he had to deal with 92%.
It's too random. It's too random to not consider it. Like,
I know.
They would not put that name in. As
obviously, the first thought is Chauncey Billups. It definitely isn't Bill Lambeer.
Let's go Jody.
Jody?
There's no way
it's not Jody Meeks. It's Chauncey. Yes, it's Chauncey. Set a franchise record.
It throws you off because you're like, that's not a name. Percentage. You said what?
Set the record in 07-08 for 91.8. Previous record was Joe D with 90.
It's just weird that, like, because Jody Meeks is not a name you put in there just as a multiple choice option.
No, it's not. Who was the first Piston to win Rookie of the Year? Bing, Don Meineke, or Meineke? Grant Hill or Isaiah?
I want to say Grant Hill.
Grant Hill? Not Grant Hill. Bing, Meineke, or Isaiah Thomas?
What's your guess on this?
I don't know who Don Meineke is. Meineke?
The CEO of Meineke Car Care Centers.
Sure. I obviously know who Bing and Isaiah are, but I don't recall.
I wish I knew. I don't know anything about Dave Bing's rookie year.
Neither do I. Then let's go Isaiah.
All right, let's go Isaiah.
Not Isaiah.
No.
It's got to be Bing, right?
I guess.
Not Bing. It's Don Meineke.
Who the hell is Don Meineke?
I don't. Oh, he played for 52. He played in 1952-53. Power forward Don Meineke or Meineke.
What year?
Received the National NBA.
You said 52?
Very first. He won the very first Rookie of the Year award.
It's a cheap shot.
In 52-53 NBA season while playing for the Fort Wayne Pistons.
That's a cheap shot.
I've never heard of this dude. Oh man, should we be embarrassed even though we cover this team?
I mean, no, it's the guy who played for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants in 1952. We should not be embarrassed that we never heard of
Hey, it was Fort Wayne Pistons back then.
Oh yeah, sorry, Fort Wayne Pistons.
Which Pistons holds the NBA record for most missed free throws in a game?
Missed free throws.
Drummond, Isaiah Stackhouse, or Otis Thorpe? It's got to be Drummond.
Can't be Zeke or Stack, can it? No.
They played Hack and Dre all the time. It's got to be Drummond.
Let's go Drummond.
It is Drummond. Sometimes the obvious answer is the one.
Yeah.
January 20th, 2016, Drummond set an NBA record for free throws missed in a game with 23.
Actually, I remember this. Now that I think about it, I remember this.
Surpassing the previous record of 22 set by Wilt Chamberlain on December 1st, 1967. He also set a career high and franchise record by attempting 36 free throws.
This is one of the games that almost set me full tilt on the whole hacker strategy. It's not even basketball.
What an abomination of a basketball game. One player attempting 36 free throws. Next question, and second to last. Who was the first Piss with more than 1,000?
I think this was against the Rockets or the Suns?
I don't remember. I remember the game. I don't remember who it was against, though. Who was the first Piss with more than 1,000 defensive rebounds in a season? Dennis Rodman, Andre Drummond, Ben Wallace, or Bob Lanier?
I'm going to go Rodman.
I lean Rodman here, for sure. It is Rodman. 91-92, collected an astounding 18.7 rebounds per game, 1,530 in total, winning his first of 7 consecutive rebounding crowns, along with scoring 9.8 points per game, making his first All-NBA team. His 1,007 defensive rebounds that year still stands as a Pistons single-season record.
Yeah. That game was against the Rockets. Missed free throw game.
And final question here, who was the first Piston with 10 triple-doubles in a season? Blake Griffin, Bob Lanier, Grant Hill, or Isaiah Thomas? Certainly ain't Blake Griffin.
I mean, his first year, maybe.
10 triple-doubles? No way.
I want to say Zeke. All
right. I ain't going to yell at you. It is not Zeke. I am going to yell at you. They can't put Bob Lanier in these answers 100 times and have him not be a single answer, right?
Yeah, because Grant Hill, I don't think. I mean, I could see him.
He is a triple-double threat, no question.
He wasn't much of a facilitator though. That's where I'm trying to.
Do we want to go Bob Lanier?
Yeah, let's go Bob Lanier.
It is not Bob Lanier.
It's Grant Hill then, isn't it?
It is Grant Hill. Second season, 95-96. Grant Hill led the NBA in triple-doubles with 10. Following year, he set a new franchise record with 13 triple-doubles, not only leading the league, but accounting for 35% of the league's triple-double total that season. The game has changed so much because there's guys that get triple-doubles almost every night now. Jokic almost averages a triple-double. Yeah. Russell Westbrook has averaged it how many times in his career now?
Westbrook has hit that number in a month.
Right. And James Harden is a triple-double machine almost night in, night out.
Is it the talent that went up, or is it the rules have been more friendly to players getting triple-doubles?
I think it's the rules, man. I'll be honest with you. I think it's the rules. Because Grant Hill's, it's not like Grant Hill's that far removed from this league of basketball.
Grant Hill was a monster. Injuries took his career away.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if we were talking a guy from the 60s compared to this, yes, I'd say the talent's changed. But the talent level hasn't changed all that much from, late 90s to today. Not that much. I mean, you're still talking about guys like Kobe.
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah, it's Shaq, Timmy D.
Right. Those guys
Carter.
can compete in today's game.
Yeah.
Easy. They dominate today's game. And that's
One of my biggest what ifs is if
What?
that Toronto Raptors, Vince Carter, T-Mac team had actually stayed together.
oh, that'd have been something.
I would love to see those two on a team. in their prime.
I don't know if that team ever would have won anything.
Oh, definitely not. Just been fun as all.
They would have been the most fun team to watch. and honestly, one of my low-key, like, the most fun teams I've gotten to watch in my lifetime has been, like, that early 2000s Sacramento Kings team that got screwed over by Tim Donaghy. That team was fun as hell to watch. But I'll tell you, a Vince Carter, T-Mac Raptors team that stayed together would have been the best.
I mean, that's the era
No
of basketball
question.
I grew up on, was that early 2000s.
Oh, I did too.
Those
Absolutely.
teams were always so fun to watch. Like,
All right, anything else?
I miss the days where AI could lead a team to a championship with no one else in the team.
You know, I talked about AI the other night.
Really?
I was in a group chat with some people, and we were talking. And how did that get brought up? I don't even know. But we were talking
think-
about like the early. We were talking about like the early 2000s of basketball. Oh, you know what it was? Is I said the best era of basketball that I can think of is the years between like the 90s to 2005 is the NBA's second golden age of basketball.
Yeah, I was
Obviously,
like,
you
most
got
people
the
will tell
80s.
you. Yeah, exactly. Most
Obviously, you
people
got
will
the
tell you,
80s, but I
86
believe
to
that the
95
NBA's
or some
second
shit.
golden age of basketball is like that early 90s to 2005. And then after 2005, you started getting the obvious team situations where players were just joining up to win a championship, and half the league sucked, and things changed.
Like, it's like the Boston Celtics didn't invent, or like the 2004 Lakers, like they didn't invent the super team, but I think they like repopularized it.
They did. They but they didn't just repopularize it. They made it like to where, okay, you do this or you do this and make half the league suck. Like having 30 teams in the NBA, because in the 80s and 90s, didn't they have only 28 teams, if I recall? Like, if you had a super team here and there, you still had talent dispersion across the league. Versus now, if you have a few super teams, some teams seriously suck. And half the league is just no good.
Yeah.
So, like, it kind of, whereas in the 80s, it's not as prevalent and looked down upon because of the fact that, there was more talent dispersion. Versus now, it's almost spread too thin. There's only like 5 or 6 teams that have all the wealth. Like, look at the Eastern Conference, for example. The top of the East looks stupid good. Stupid good. But I'm pretty sure the 4 seed right now is 1 game above 500. That's terrible.
Yeah. But right now, you're also in a league that has like 3 super teams. It's Boston. It's Brooklyn. It's the Lakers. It's the Clippers, and the Lakers just got Drummond. Like,
I'll be honest with you, Philly is up there, but they did.
I
wouldn't
wouldn't call them a super team. That's what I'm saying.
They're up there though, but they're up there.
I was just saying there's 3 legit super teams.
Yes, that were put together artificially.
Yeah.
Philly was put together through the draft. Miami, you could honestly argue, is up there now with Oladipo, Goran Dragic, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. Like, that team is going to be scary.
Oladipo still got to get back to his pre-injury form.
He does, but that team's going to be scary. I'm really excited about watching that team play. But Boston, you expected them to, but they just never have really kind of come to that.
Yeah, so haven't quite gelled yet.
Still young though. They still can. But so are some of these other teams, like Philly.
Another guy I'm surprised.
Milwaukee.
I was surprised that they traded Daniel Tice.
I was too. I actually kind of like Daniel Tice.
Yeah, I thought they really liked him. So,
I did too. But anyways, that is going to close it out for this week, guys. Thank you so much for joining us and listening. We will catch you next week. Follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. Andrew, thank you for joining me, and thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast as always. We'll catch you guys next week. This has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
For fans.
Have a good one, guys. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you.
Hopefully, we didn't totally embarrass ourselves on Piston Trivia. Peace.
I think we did okay. Peace.